Hey guys, this is ZombieGrub. I am here interviewing Cyan, who you might not know, but that's why we're doing the interview, so that's perfect. We already did this once and I messed up, so that's why we're laughing here. But go ahead and introduce yourself and what you do for Starcraft.
What's up? I am Cyan. I guess I do a lot of stuff. I'm a content creator / esports journalist, I suppose. I've written a bunch. I do YouTube interviews, Twitch interviews, talk shows, editorial video essay stuff, and most recently this year, I guess the biggest thing that I've done so far, period, I've covered a lot of the Challenger stuff for the WCS official portal site, which was super cool and a big honor to get to do as a freelancer type person, so yeah.
Right. And we'll get into exactly what you do currently, but let's start off with how you got into StarCraft 2.
So back when I first started university, I had a friend that told me that there was this website called Just In TV where you could go and there would be these streams of like South Park and Family Guy and The Simpsons. You could just watch them. And I was like, oh, cool. I like watching things on the internet sometimes. And back then, like, pirating was kind of a little bit more sketchy than it is right now, even I think. But, you know, it was hard to find that stuff. So I went and checked out Just In TV. And on the front page, they'd have it's the same kind of thing as Twitch, where they'd have like different streams for the day. And there happened to be a StarCraft stream on one day, like IPL or NASL, I think it was actually. And I had heard about StarCraft and the professional StarCraft scene from a documentary that came on CBC when I was like a very little kid.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, is that Canadian Broadcasting or whatever?
Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
Oh, yeah, I think they actually did something for Montreal this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, probably as like a news piece, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil what they're doing, but I think they actually interviewed me about Scarlet.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so, okay, cool.
Yeah, so, well, yeah, they had a documentary on like video games in general back in like, I don't know, like the mid-2000s or whatever, and I was only little. And it was only a footnote of that, like, oh, in Korea they have professional gaming houses, and they showed like the bunk bed situation stuff and Flash and everything. It was like, oh, wow, that's neat. And I remembered that, so I checked out StarCraft 2, and it was insanely cool. It was the best. So after that point, I would go to justin.tv, and I'd look at the front page, and it was the only way I knew how to find a StarCraft stream. So if there wasn't one there, I was like, oh, all right, I guess I'll watch South Park or something. But if there was one there, I'd try and watch it.
Okay.
And it just kind of snowballed. I heard about Reddit from there, and I got on the Reddit community, and it just kept going.
Yeah, okay. So you've been, you're kind of one of the OGs, actually.
No.
I mean, for Just In TV, you've been watching StarCraft from almost the beginning.
That was like 2011.
Really?
And then I was a very, very like casual fan for about a year because I couldn't, because I was a very poor university student, so I couldn't actually afford to buy the game.
Okay.
So I wasn't super involved for a while, but I'd liked watching it and I'd liked following it. But it wasn't until like late to mid 2012 until I really started to get into it.
Okay. I mean, when I said, like, obviously I haven't heard about you in 2010, so it would have been, like, really shocking if you were like, yeah, I've been doing interviews since then. It just took, 8 years.
Oh, God, yikes. Oh, man, I'm really glad that's not the case.
But still, like, I mean, you've been watching from the beginning, though, and I didn't know that, actually, that you knew what Justin, you were watching Justin TV. That's what, I have an original, like, I guess I have, like, I don't know what they call it, but, like, ZombieGrub was a Justin TV account, and then they swapped over to Twitch.
Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's like, I signed up pretty much from the get-go, but I just forgot when Twitch became, like, the official thing, because there was a time where it was Justin and Twitch.
Right, yeah.
So that's interesting. All right, so you've been around for a while, and then what prompted you to actually try and get into doing, like, esports as a job?
So I guess that's a little twofold, because I didn't start producing content with the idea that, oh, this is going to be, like, a potential career path that I can try and forge. I actually started producing content because back like 2014, Destiny made a post to the subreddit actually talking about how, you're talking about a bunch of things, but the one that really stuck with me was how in like League of Legends and Counter-Strike and Dota and all these different esports scenes, there's content made for people below like masters. People in Gold League can enjoy this content and it's just for fun and meme bullshit, right?
Okay.
And we don't have that in StarCraft 2, like at the time, right? And I was like, you know what? I think that really rings true, and I really identify with that. And I should not just sit here and bitch about the problem. I should do something about the problem because I'm in Gold League and I can do this. And what I decided to do was the least beginner-friendly, least casual-friendly piece of content that you could ever imagine. Because I didn't have good internet, I didn't have a good computer, so I couldn't stream, I couldn't do YouTube. Anyway, I did a really long like essay thing on the history of the scene and tried to draw a conclusion on region lock, actually.
Oh, that's a big task.
Yeah, it was. It was a really big task, and I used the Wayback Machine, and I don't know the word count for the final essay. It was Thousands and thousands of words, though.
Did you release this?
I did, yeah. It was released, and not a lot of people, you know, shockingly, not a lot of people were really in on it. But I did have a YouTube video along the way, just an interesting thing that I found that I put up, and people kind of liked it. And actually, I sent the thing to In Control, Jack Attack, Fear Dragon, and I think you actually, maybe.
Really?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I can't remember, but you know, obviously it was fucking massive text. So Ravi read it because he's a madman.
Yeah,
I think Jack Attack read it too. I think so, and they got back to me with some feedback, and that was really cool. And then flash forward like a year, the Chan Man show, whatever it was at the time, I don't know if it was Unfiltered, but they did like their final Starcraft episode, and it was with Richard Lewis and Thorne talking about the newly instituted region lock that they were going to have for 2016 WCS, and it was it was like a controversial thing. And during that show, Richard Lewis and Thorne just took a massive shit on Starcraft, pretty much for like 2 hours. Yeah. And there was nobody there to counterpose, right? Like there was no opposing viewpoint to that or defense of Starcraft, and they were saying things that were factually wrong. They were stating opinions as just fact.
Yeah.
And they were saying a lot of things about Starcraft personalities that were I thought that they were just bullying. I thought it was really mean, unnecessary, and shouldn't have been said. So I looked at that and I was like, you know what? I have a YouTube channel that has like maybe 100 subs right now, and I've posted to Starcraft. I'm like a familiar face on the Starcraft forums. I'm going to make a video response to this. So I downloaded the VOD or whatever, and I cut it up into the points that I wanted to address. And I posted like my rebuttal to Unfiltered episode blah blah blah. Yeah. And Reddit fucking loved it because that was the news of the day too.
I kind of actually remember that. I think. Yeah.
That was like the first thing that I did that like really got noticed. And then in that thread on Reddit, this is such a long fucking winding road. In that thread on Reddit, Katz posted, and he was like, "Hey, we're gonna update the root website, and we're gonna have like some space. We want some content on there. You seem like a guy with like intelligence and head screwed on straight or whatever. Do you want to come and do some work with Root?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude, hell yeah!" And it wasn't paid or anything, but it was, you know, like Root, you know, hell yeah. So
that's the story then.
Just kind of snowballed.
I mean, so like many other people, you just kind of snowballed into it. Like it was a hobby, and then it became, you know, like, oh man, I can actually like do this for real. So
yeah, definitely.
There's actually a lot of points there that I want to like bring up and like
break it down.
Yeah, break it down. But one of those things is I'll start off with the first question, I guess. Yeah. But you kind of brought up that you had 100 subs right on YouTube, which, I mean, not to disparage you or anything, it's like, it's not a ton. It's something,
I still don't have a ton.
It's something, but it's not a ton. But there's this idea, though, that even if, you know, you had a decent number, if you're not ingrained in the scene, then you're not ingrained in the scene. But anyways, like, what were your, I mean, did anyone call you out for being like, you know, like, I mean, who are you? Why do you think you even have any authority on these subjects? Like when your first thing that you did that you, not the Unfiltered, but the other article you did on the big thing. On the big thing. Like, did anyone try and call you out on that? Or did you have any reservations because you weren't in control, because you weren't like a big member of the scene? Or did you just go in there and be like, well, I think I'm a cool enough guy that people aren't going to be like, who the hell are you?
So, no, not at all, actually, to any of those. And the reason why, like, this is the reason why it partly failed, too, is because it wasn't a casual piece. It was very academic. Okay. Pointedly so. Because I, for a period of time before I decided this isn't for me, I was a history student. And I love history. Oh, and Chicago style is the best style of reference. It is. It just is. It looks pretty. It's great. So I kind of anyway, Chicago style. So I knew what I should be doing when I went into it to kind of have like an academic, well thought out piece. I knew the difference between a primary source and a secondary source, and I knew that by using the Wayback Machine and capturing these moments in time, I had a pretty reasonable ground to stand on with like what I was saying. Not a perfect one, because it is still it's weird to do it like that with like the internet and everything, and the numbers that I was using, it was like poll statistics and thread counts and stuff like that. So it's not the most well-founded concrete numbers to pull in the first place. Yeah. But I also had a lot of ability to back it up.
Yeah, so you went in there like a job, really. I mean, you
Yeah,
actually,
kind of. Yeah,
you
I
dissected
spent a
it
lot
and
of time on it. Yeah.
It was an essay. It wasn't just like a, hey, this is like things that I kind of remember. You
No,
know, like
not at all.
And there is that kind of weird, like, are you an expert based off experience? Or are you an expert based off of knowledge?
Right,
which,
right.
You know, sometimes obviously they go hand in hand and whatever. But that's interesting. I never really thought about that, but it's, you know, I'm like paralleling it to what I do, right? Which is cast, and there's always that like, well, you know, you weren't a pro gamer for 8 years.
Right.
So can you be an analyst is kind of one of those things that's a very easy jab for any, you know, one of the commentators that actually wants to try and do something. And if it's like, if you can just back it up, people are going to really struggle to be like, well, you didn't, but, you know, maybe you called that build right, but like this is fucking rare.
Absolutely.
I don't know. But that's like, I mean, that's absolutely what you should do though. And that's, for you, I think that's what really, because I didn't know you for any of these things, but I eventually found you. And one of the things that prompted me to want to help you in the scene is that it did prove that, as you said, the cats told you, right? Like, you know, you had your head on straight, right? Like, you weren't some just like schmuck who thought he knew a bunch of stuff and then never backed it up. And,
Right.
And also you weren't an asshole. Which,
I appreciate that.
guys,
I appreciate all of that a lot.
It's like a really big thing, okay? Like, if you're going to try and get in content of anything, it's actually so easy just to be a really cool guy, and then suddenly everyone's willing to retweet you and stuff. I'm just throwing it out there, but anyway, so that's really cool. Kind of the parallels, I guess, of all esports. But then segueing into the fact that you are more esports, you know, I've been trying not to say Starcraft 2 specifically because you do other esports. So as you like get along and you're trying to make this a full-time career, but one of the things I noticed that you would do, and this goes right back to the Unfiltered story, is, you know, we would talk about this, right? You would read like the Overwatch subreddits, and you would actually comment, whereas I would just be like flipping Overwatch guys.
Yeah, sometimes.
Like, do you see yourself as someone who, this is just something that you like to do, and you're like, you're accidentally Batman, or do you actually see yourself as someone who like is the only guy who'll go around and interact with other communities and defend Starcraft?
Yeah, a little bit actually, because, well, another part of like my come up, right? I was a form warrior. I come from Starcraft Reddit, right? Like, that was where I grew my knowledge mostly, and especially, you know, the years before, like the WCS region lock, and that just being like, oh, this is conclusively what it is now. Having to talk about whether or not the region lock is good, and having to vet all of that, and you know, debating that actively, and just vetting it in your own head. I think that's A, it's fun for me, and B, I think it has to happen. And these other communities, like you said, like the Overwatch subreddit, which I don't bother anymore, and like on even like general gaming Reddits and everything, people are so, can I swear?
Yeah.
People are so fucking wrong. It hurts like physically. Like I it's not like a, oh, you're so triggered thing, but it's just like, I can't believe how wrong you are. Like, why are you this wrong? And I have to go tell them that they're wrong because they're wrong.
Yeah.
And when Overwatch subreddit is in there like, oh yeah, Blizzard doesn't want to do the mistakes they did in StarCraft 2 because they killed their game, and you come in and like, you know, actually, we're fine, just so you know. You know, like, it's just something that needs to be said, because there's not that many people out there defending StarCraft or telling the truth about StarCraft.
It is one of those, it's the weirdest thing, right? And I think I have a theory, is that because most of these people were in the, you know, let's be honest, the heyday, even though now is doing very, very, very well, 2010 to 2011, and then kind of started to taper off. But they're all from that period, basically, right? That was the only esport you ever watched. It was the only esport, unless you were in a Brood War, and even that was hard to come by on Twitch. So, but they think it's dead. They think they're all experts because they were part of that period, even if they weren't. They were just Joe Schmoes.
Yep.
And no one ever does call them out and say, like, hey, you haven't been in the scene for 6 or 7 years. Like, what did you actually know in the first place?
Right.
So that's my theory. And then, of course, there's an echo chamber of everyone else who is also from 2011 who's like, yeah, I totally agree with you. And then there's nothing from someone currently in the scene. So I just, you know, I want to say I appreciate what you do. You know, I appreciate your attempts anyways. And I
don't do it a lot anymore,
but
so maybe I'll have to go back and reap that appreciation.
I feel like it'd be the worst thing ever, but I sort of wish that you would do it and then link your own self on the subreddit of StarCraft and be like, look how much I slapped this guy down.
Unfortunately, that would be a Reddit ban for me, so...
It would. It also would be like just the pettiest thing in the world. So.
I think it's not against the rules, though, if somebody else did it.
No, it's not. And didn't they
So-
also change, like, they only, like, the
Self-promotion stuff?
yeah, didn't they change it so you can do, like, a certain amount?
Well, that's like totally dead, and they let that die so
Oh,
quietly
okay,
too.
yeah,
I only
okay.
know about that because what company? I don't know. I was writing for somebody. They were like, "Oh yeah, you don't have to worry about 9-1 anymore," and
Oh, right,
it
there was
just
a ratio.
disappeared. Yeah, fuck 9-1.
Yeah. But that's a good segue because one of the ways that you did become popular is, let's really focus on it, was Reddit.
Yep.
So I know that there are plenty of other content creators or just commentators or whatever, like a ton of the commentators will straight up say, like, I don't want to read Reddit. I don't do it. Like, it's a cesspool. And they're not exactly wrong. Actually, when you think about it, like, Blizzard forums are, like, way down here. YouTube's actually, like, in the 9th level of hell or something like that. And then there's, like, Blizzard forums, like, the 1st level of hell. And then there's, like, I guess maybe you could say Starcraft Reddit's here and Team Liquid's here. But the point is, it's not great, but I know that you actually have defended it quite a few times.
Yeah, I have.
So what are your opinions on, like, is it because you find it so important for content creators, or because you actually think that it's an important thing overall? Like, Reddit's too much of a hub not to utilize type deal?
Yeah, definitely both. I mean, like, for me personally, I have like 1,000. What am I at? Like 1.2k subs on YouTube. But to be frank, a lot of those have come in through shoutout threads that happen on Reddit. And to be frank, as nice as it is to get a shoutout thread and to have that big number bump and to be able to keep my YouTube partnership and everything, a lot of the times those people aren't there to click on the subs that come up in their subscription feed or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So most of my content comes from Reddit, and I need Reddit to like me. I do. I need Reddit to like me to get views and to continue to grow and to, like, maybe rise in the algorithms or whatever, right? I need that. And I think that if there are ever more people that rise in StarCraft, like, let's say, God willing, right? Like, I'm the next one that rises up and descends to meaningful level, whatever, right? The next person to come along is going to use Reddit. They're gonna use Reddit as part of the way that they make their story happen, right? And for a really, really long time, as a fan, hearing people talk about Reddit in the professional community and hearing them say, like, this is a cesspool and everything like that, I did disagree, and I thought that it was a lot better than it was being portrayed, because I was a member of that Reddit community, and like, there were terrible people in Reddit 100% in every thread, but I really did feel like, you gotta scroll to the bottom. Some days now, I mean, there have been days where I've been enormously disheartened by the Reddit community and felt really, really bad about, like, having defended them in any capacity at all. But I think that the whole is the sum of its parts, and if we strip the bad parts away and weigh them against the rest, it's not as much. And yeah, like, I am biased because I've never had a Reddit hate thread, I hope I never will. But in my perspective, Reddit is more important to the community than any other single central StarCraft 2 body, other than, like, the category on Twitch, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's worth being a part of.
Interesting. I'm gonna get your thoughts on something that maybe you don't have many on, but the Team Liquid versus StarCraft Reddit stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to compare because Reddit is Reddit, right? It's this huge, momentous thing for the young people's, the internet goers. And there's, like, not really denying that, right? Like, the age of the forum posts is, like, so 2000s, right?
Yeah.
So it is the new thing. But, I mean, like, Reddit, it's on the top of Reddit for a day and a half, and then it disappears always. You can't keep something up there, well, unless it's sticky, I guess. But that's, the point is, whereas, like, Team Liquid has the potential to constantly revive threads and all that, and also has the potential to have stricter moderation, which is always something that Team Liquid is known for. But it used to be the go-to place for StarCraft.
Right.
And I kind of noticed that you didn't really mention Team Liquid so much when you said how you got into StarCraft.
Right.
So do you think that Team Liquid's, I guess, phase as being the go-to for StarCraft is kind of over? It's dead? Do you think that's a bad thing? Do you think that there should be some emphasis on creating a decently moderated discussion platform that's not Reddit? Or do you think that Reddit actually just checks all the marks and, to hell with Team Liquid?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to disparage TL, right? Because it's important, and, like Liquid existing as a thing, Team Liquid, the Liquid team, super cool. But I've never been a part of Team Liquid, really, right? Like, you talk about forums like that being kind of really passé. Yeah, a little bit. I'm not. I guess I'm not really old enough to have ever been really a part of them, unless I was, when I was 10 or something like that, and I just wasn't. So I've never found Team Liquid to be something user-friendly for me as a consumer of the posts and content, and that really drove me away from using it at all. And then for content, it's really weird. So TL does not let you self-promote on their forums to a degree. Yeah. You can post like a master thread and have all of your content going in there, right, like over time, which I've done. But you cannot have a single thread for content A and then a single thread for content B, and that's hugely problematic because people will click on your thread, but they'll only click once unless they're really interested. So the master thread that I have with all of my YouTube interviews, the first one, actually the one that you and I did, was the very first one. Viewership on that one was great because of Team Liquid. But after that, when the thread gets bumped, no one's coming in, right? Like,
that's true.
If it was different, if you could post a new thread for each piece of content, and very frankly, I don't know why you can't. That might be fine.
Yeah.
I could understand why you couldn't back in like 2012.
I was gonna say the reason I am almost positive they will give, and I've never talked to anyone from Team Liquid about this. I would love to though. Maybe I should hunt one down here. But I'm pretty sure they would say they didn't want it to be flooded.
Yeah.
Which you're right was a very legitimate concern.
Yeah.
But it is that kind of like, I mean,
it's an outdated
unless
rule.
Team Liquid really doesn't care about its what's the word? Like how many people go there every day and its metrics, I suppose, unless they really just want to be the writing articles and having a sidebar for streams, like unless they don't care about the metrics, like why don't they change with the times, basically?
Yeah.
Because that seems to be what the issue really is that maybe Reddit has caused this, and some old fogies out there are going to be like, kids today with their short attention span can't click on the same thread more than once. But it's absolutely true. I mean, Reddit got popular for a reason. Right. So, I mean,
to counterpoint, those old fogies that are going to say that, they're not clicking on those threads. Maybe like 3 of them are. The rest of you, no, you're not. You're not doing it. Don't lie to me. You can lie to yourself. You can't lie to me.
Yeah. But that's something that we really have to because Team Liquid, I feel like, could be a place where everyone who really wants to get into StarCraft could go. Yeah. And that's where it was. You had the sidebar. Yep. Before Twitch directories were actually any good or anything like that.
Oh, wait, really? Was there a time when like Twitch directories weren't a thing?
There was. I mean, I actually don't remember if there was directories, but I just remember that it was so much easier to go to Team Liquid and see all the pro gamers as opposed to, I guess, because that's what I was concerned about. So this also could be like elitism talking, but like everyone was streaming StarCraft at the time. And to actually find like Idra and Vibe and like a bunch of others, so much easier to go to Team Liquid. But they also had the articles. They also had the beginner's guides. They had the forum that was build orders and strategies and stuff like that, which Reddit just simply can't really have. Yep. They do have all things Protoss, and I know Gemini is like really gung ho about that, but it's just not. They feel like they could be fitting 2 different roles.
I think they do.
But Team Liquid, I feel like, is not. They're not catching the youngsters. They're not, getting them on the actual page and seeing how useful it can be because they're falling behind on the times.
Yeah, and I mean to be fair, right? Like I think that in terms of streaming, Liquid's still really important for that. Every time I do a rare stream event now, but every time I do. Ravi usually messages me and is like, "Hey, you're not attached on Team Liquid. Go do that." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, and it does actually make a big difference. And it's weird to see that juxtaposition too, because it's like what we just talked about there, and that's all true. But then the stream stuff and being on the sidebar and being like a partnered Liquid streamer, or however it works, like that all really matters too. So it's
it used to be absolutely huge to be partnered. I remember when I didn't actually apply; they just told me I had it, which was great. But I was like, "Well, I really made it," but that was kind of on the decline. So it's like.
I wish they'd tell me I have it.
Yeah, sorry. I have to apply.
Rip.
Anyways, that's just, it's something I've been thinking about lately. But
it's very interesting. I don't think, just to put a cap in like the end of that, because you asked about creating something new, I don't think that's possible.
Okay.
I don't think that in this day and age, anyone is going to join a new website in a meaningful number.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Like even TL is on the decline. There's like tens of thousands of users there. Reddit's got 160,000 some odd subscribers over time, but 2,000 I think it's like 40,000 people flood in on the daily back when the metrics was available for public. I don't think you'll ever recreate anything close to that.
No, I don't think so either. But anyways, just like getting the content creators' point of view on that one. So I guess honing back in. So you actually started off this interview saying like you're a poor college student, and I know you kind of live in the middle of nowhere as well. So there's a lot of challenges to you, and I mean to many people who try to get into esports. But like, what were the biggest challenges for you to be like someone who was up and coming? I mean, still is, right?
Yeah, right.
But let's say like you getting hired by Blizzard for anything was that's a pretty big breakthrough. So let's just say like you were an up and comer. Like, what was life like? Did you constantly run into like motivation issues? Did you just think that everything was so oversaturated at one point that you wouldn't bother? Because I know a lot of people around that time that you got, 2014 and after, there was a lot less interviews, but at the same time, like me, for instance, I'd always be like, well, Artosis did that interview 2 years ago, so like, is there really a necessity for a new one? And it's like, yes, there was. But did you run into those challenges? Did you run into the challenges of like, well, who are you? So like, just tell me about life as a content creator.
Post 2014 years.
Yes.
In terms of where I live, it's a lot of like interesting challenges, I guess, like internet speed. Like before I can remember. I don't know how I ever used to do fucking anything on the internet, because I remember what my internet speed was like, and looking back, I don't know how I uploaded a YouTube video or even played the game Starcraft 2. And I remember like playing League with friends while I was in Skype, and I'm like, how was I able to run Skype and League of Legends?
Mind-boggling.
Oh, yeah, but that's better. It's better now. But I will always be handicapped by my internet speed. If I want to put off a tournament, I can't do it where I live. It won't be possible. It won't be a good thing. It won't be a good tournament. I'll have people complain that their ping is terrible, right?
Okay.
Or that my ping is terrible and I'm slowing down the game, excuse me. And then travel is obviously a huge bitch. I don't have the option to drive, really, ever.
And do you think that has actually stopped you from getting jobs?
From getting jobs, no, but from going to events, yeah. Because if I could take a bus to Montreal, in terms of like a straight line space, I'm not that far from Montreal at all.
But you're on an island.
But I'm on an island,
Yeah.
And if I want to fly, not only am I on an island, but I have to get a connecting flight too.
Yeah.
God, yeah. I like where I live in the sense that it's very pretty, it's very nice people, but I do believe that I am handicapped by where I live because I'm trying to get into an internet kind of field.
Yeah, to kind of like, I guess, further contextualize why I'm asking you this, as opposed to just being like, tell me why your life sucks, is that I think that there's the obvious people who just literally had nothing, right? And there's obvious people who had actually a lot of support. I think I'm a person that had a lot of support. Like I was super blessed that I could live at home in a relatively metropolitan area with, well-to-do parents, and that they supported what I did. Mm-hmm. Those check marks, like, obviously didn't, like, force me to do all the content that I did and get better at casting and stuff like that, but it was a tremendous help. Like, privilege. Yeah. It's literally privilege. So, so when I hear some stories about people, and there's always that one, like, well, maybe you didn't have a lot of money out of college, but you lived in California, and you went to a billion different lands, right? Mm-hmm. And you actually seem like someone who actually just didn't have much going on. I think you do live at home.
Yeah, I do. I am very lucky to have that support from my folks. Yeah, definitely.
But then the whole, like, you living on an island, all right? Like, that is something that I don't think a lot of people have that trouble. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to going to events, that's so just important to actually advancing your career anyways.
So for, like, the year from... I consider, like, my first big thing that I did after that one video that Katz saw to be our interview that we did back like 2016 August or whatever.
Something like that.
Yeah, because like a lot of people watched it and it just felt good. Like, oh man, I'm interviewing somebody who's like actually really important in StarCraft, and I didn't think that was something I would ever get to do. So from that point to like a year later, every interview that I did, I do this all the time anyways. I always ask, like, oh, is there anything I could be doing to get better and stuff like that? Because I interview people that I respect, generally, and who have made it, generally. So I want to get their input and see how I can do it, replicate. And basically everyone was like, oh, you got to get to an event. You got to get to an event. Yeah. I was like, oh, God. Like, I was like, well, this just isn't it then, is it? But, I mean, last year, you helped me out tremendously. I'll never be able to repay that. And the summit too, right? Like
Yeah.
the summit helps me out tremendously, and I
Mm-hmm.
will never be able to express my gratitude for that. Yeah.
I mean, but so you're like, you eventually got to do these things, but you spent such a long time not doing what is.
Mm-hmm.
When you really think about it, maybe you could boil it down to being the most important thing you could do for advancing your career is going to events. You know, because people, I guess the old saying is always like, it's who you know.
Maybe.
And it's really hard to personally get to know someone online, even though there obviously happens, right? Tons of us have lots of really good friends online, but like that is another hurdle that you had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And but you did it, right? Like that's your success story almost, is that you were in the middle of nowhere. You didn't have the means of going places, but you still did it. You still did enough content. You still proved yourself, right? And you know, kind of going off the whole, like, what's it like being an up-and-coming content creator? What were the challenges? I guess, just going right in here, like, what were the biggest improvements? I guess, what was the biggest helps in you kind of jumping over these bridges, literally, because you're on an island?
I think being given the opportunity to write, well, not just the single opportunity to start writing, but continued opportunities to write, I think was really, really, really meaningful for my progression, because it's nothing that I expected to do, wanted to do, had my heart set on, or anything. Literally, the most just happened into it. But evidently, I'm kind of good at it, like on some level, I guess. I don't know. But
you're like just like Sundaried yourself. Like, I guess I'm kind of good back at
I don't know, dude. Like, I don't think of my, like, oh, I'm a great writer, you know? Like,
I know exactly what it's like. It's like, you know, like I'm an okay commentator, I guess. Like, it's all right.
Yeah, but then you're up on the WCS stage, and you're like, oh, I guess it's fun.
But yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, like, all of the money that I get from, like, I don't have a big stream. I don't have a whole bunch of people on Patreon. I love you, Patreon people. Thank you. But I don't have like $500 coming in from Twitch subs and then another $400 from Patreon, right? Like, that's not a thing. So the little bit of money that I do get, it oftentimes comes from working for a publication as a freelance writer, writing about something, Starcraft mostly. And there aren't very many people writing about Starcraft right now. And almost in general, for a while there, it seemed like there weren't that many people writing about esports, period, unattached. So not so much now, because so many companies have folded, unfortunately, but for a while there in 2016, end of 2016, early 2017, it seemed like there were a lot of people looking for people to just write and give money for writing. And without writing, I think I get my name out there a lot less. I get a lot less money, and I have to stop doing what I'm doing, because I've had that brick wall a lot, right? Where it's like, okay, this is it. This is the last month. I gotta figure shit out, and then you get like that little lift, that little thing that just makes you keep going, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, the WCS stuff was 100% that for me this year. 100%.
Okay.
I would have stopped. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, you just defining the motivation when you don't have all these like accessible areas. You aren't super well known because of one breakout performance, something like that. What helped you keep the motivation was actually just getting like getting
gigs,
any jobs at all.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Which makes sense. I mean, everyone loves to tell the story of the person who had nothing going for them, literally nothing, right? Like 4 years of doing their own content to one viewer, and then finally breaking through. But that's generally not what happens.
Right.
Like, you know, there are always those periods where you're just like, well, there's nothing I have to do, and I could just do other stuff. And then someone does say, like, hey, cast this, and you feel very obligated to do it. So works the same in writing and content creating, it sounds like. But then let's go ahead and segue with that, that you did get the Blizzard job, right? That Blizzard actually hired you to talk about WCS. How did that happen, if you can talk about it? And then what do you think was the main, I guess, proponent of you getting it? Was it finally going to the summits? Was it reaching out directly to Blizzard? What was it? Or you just think that you proved yourself?
I think I can talk about it. I don't know, it's weird, right? Like, I'm just freelance, right? Like,
Yeah,
I have a freelance relationship. I'm not actually, like, on staff or anything. I think that, again, like I talked about there not being a whole lot of writers out there, I am somebody who is primarily StarCraft, and I write. And I think that is a huge reason why I get to do this for Blizzard and for WCS Challenger stuff, right? there's a lack of people out there.
Yeah, you fit a role that was needed.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm filling a niche that not very many people, I mean, if anybody almost, wanted to fill.
Okay.
I don't think the summit was irrelevant to that. I think getting to go to the summit...
You don't think it was irrelevant?
Yeah, I don't think that it was irrelevant. I think that it was relevant.
So it was relevant.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Sorry. But I honestly, I have no way to know, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah. I've been there, too.
I really, genuinely, I don't know. It's stupid, right? Like, we're just talking, like, I don't think I'm that great a writer or whatever. I don't know. Like, I wake up and, like, every time I submit something, I'm like, God, I wonder if that's the last one. I wonder if they'll, like, keep letting me do this. I hope it's good. What if it's terrible? What if they just, like, never let me touch this ever again? You know, like, always constant thought. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm a very self-deprecating person. I don't know, but, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it could be a million different reasons, you know. I mean, I'm sure it's every single reason, you know, a part of it, right? And it all rolls up into the fact that you actually got the job.
Yeah.
It's what it's like. I mean, I'm seeing so many similarities to anything you do in well, any job, really. Let's be real. But I guess in esports, you usually start off with absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. The idea of being unpaid for the first 2 years of your career was just like, it's getting to be a foreign concept now, as more and more people push to be paid for everything. But it's still like, it's esports. They might say I get paid, and then I don't. Like,
yeah.
So, but it's like between commentating and then, I guess we even had a couple of cases of people being like arcade people, right? Actually doing enough stuff to get noticed by Blizzard, and then we have writers now who do enough stuff to get noticed by Blizzard, which is basically everyone's ultimate goal.
Yeah.
It's not their ultimate goal now. It was when they were younger, like, right, like working at Blizzard.
I mean, the honor of that is not lost on me either, right? Like, this is something I'm getting to do, something that people dream about. 100% that I am.
And that's really cool. But it also is really cool to feel like it probably was all of these good things about you, right? Like, you're a good writer, you're a good human being, and you actually did enough stuff, right? You actually pushed yourself, even if sometimes you felt like you weren't doing enough.
Yeah,
it eventually became enough. Yeah, exactly. All right, so this interview is once again getting a little long.
Sorry, dude.
Two more. No, it's not your fault. It's mine.
I'm a long-winded person. It is my fault.
But two more like big topics, I suppose. So I think you just said like you're really going more like into specifically Starcraft, little less into the other esports.
Right.
But do you still think it is a necessity, especially as a writer, to branch out into other esports?
Yeah, I think I do. I think if you, as a writer, are pigeonholing yourself into one game, if your whole goal is to be a writer, if you're pigeonholing yourself into one thing, you are really not setting yourself up for any degree of success, because there aren't that many people who are looking for writers. If you're narrowing the number of things that you can do when they are looking, then you're not helping, right?
Yeah.
If somebody's out there, and I encounter this all the time, actually, or I used to, more like that period of time where people were looking. A lot of the time it seemed like people would be looking for League writers, and I don't know League, you know, like, or people would be looking for Dota, and I'm like, I don't know Dota. Actually, I had an opportunity, actually, to go to the International this year, and it was very, very last minute.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I thought about it really, really hard, and I actually decided that I couldn't do it because I wasn't confident that I would be able to produce content that would look good on my resume. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I really, like, I still kind of think about, like, maybe
I should have taken it.
Maybe I should have done that. Maybe I should have powered through. But I think at the end of the day, if I don't know it, then that's it, right? Like, I wouldn't have produced content that would have made me look good. I would have looked bad, and that's really bad, you know? But if I hadn't known Dota, shit, I could have done that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. That actually prompts, again, like parallels here. But do you think, well, it's a really hard question to ask. It's almost like asking, like, does it feel worse to be kicked in the nuts or give birth? But, like, do you think there's different levels, right? Like, people generally say play-by-play casters have a little bit easier of a time going to game, for instance, right, compared to analysts. Like, where do you put, like, freelance writing on that scale of, like, how much do you really need to know about these games that you're potentially hired for?
Well, it just depends on what the company's looking for from you or what your style is. Because, like, for me, I really like doing interviews, and I think that I'm good at doing interviews, too. And that's a really different beast than analyst work.
Yeah.
Because I can write well, you can have a written piece of analysis, and that's like the article that you have, and that's what's published. Or you can have a recap piece, which is what I was doing for Challenger this year, right? Or you can have interviews, or right, like it's very much the same kind of thing, just in written format. And then a lot of the time it'll be the different publications, because what you want on Kotaku is not going to be the same as what you want on Team Liquid, right? Like, they're very different audiences, and those publications are aware of that, and they know what they want, and they'll get you to do what they want, right? So I've written very clipped pieces on just general esports news. I've written, like I said, WCS Challenger. I've written a lot of recap stuff now. I've written interviews. They're all their own skill set, and they're all really hard to nail down too, I think. I don't even remember the original question.
Well, just how hard it is to actually jump into other esports as a I remember now. I remember where I was going. So if you're doing analysis work, it's really hard, I think. Yeah,
really, really hard.
Sense.
Yeah, but if you're doing recap stuff or bite-sized news pieces, it's much easier. And then I think right in the middle is interview work, which is why I didn't go to the international, because I would have been doing interview work, and I didn't feel confident enough at all.
Yeah.
And it would be the same thing as, well, to me, it would be the same thing as like coming to you and being like, hey, do you want to cast professional Left 4 Dead 2? You don't know anything about it, or you're twice. Like, God, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. No,
right? Like, it's a real big decision.
Yeah.
Decision.
Yeah.
Stuttered that one out.
Yeah. I understand that. Yeah. All right. So to kind of round this whole interview out, as it is getting long, I like to ask most people this, but as a writer, content producer, whatever, like, I think you have a lot of still potential. You've yet to be, I think, pigeonholed yet, even though the biggest break for you has been freelance writing for Blizzard and WCS. What are your goals specifically? Because I think I've known you for like almost 2 years at this point, and I think I might know the answer, but it probably changes a lot. So, like, say it now. Like, what are your goals for the next year? Like, what do you think is realistic, and what do you wish could happen if a genie would grant you the wish right now?
Oof. I don't even know the answer to this, so I mean, I'd be surprised if you knew the answer. If you know, tell me. The goal for the next 365 for me is to make this sustainable and to advance to a point where I'm not sacrificing, I guess, my wallet to do this anymore than I already have, because after next year it'll be 3 years since I really, really went hard, and I think that's like a good time to call it one way or another. So just to try and find a way to make this sustainable for me into perpetuity. I think that's the second time I've used perpetuity this interview, which is kind of weird because it's a weird word. It's going to sound like word of the day shit, but that's not the intention. Yeah, now that I've called it out.
Yeah.
I feel, even though most success that I've had has been from writing, I feel that it's important for me to grow my base on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch, because that's where a lot of the audience is going to pull, right? If I have people that are watching what I do on Twitch and everything, it makes me more visible overall.
Yeah.
So
good.
All the content that I produce will be better if I have those audiences. And obviously that adds to the sustainability thing too. I hope to keep covering for Blizzard in some capacity, because that's huge, and I would love to do that if they want me to do that. I mean, like the genie dream is just make it sustainable, make a living on this, that's it. That's however it may happen, let's just find a way.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's a very realistic genie wish
there.
Well,
I mean, real genie wish is
like, could I just go ahead and like have enough money to like barely live? Like, that'd be cool.
Well, no, I mean, genie wish, like, give me $1 billion and I'll run Starcraft better than Blizzard ever could imagine.
Oh God. Mike Morhaime just left, man. Like, it's their time to shine.
I mean, maybe he's got the $1 billion. Maybe that's what he left for. Ooh.
I don't know, man. I think
scoop.
Is it though? I think he's pretty well off. I think he's a pretty happy guy.
Maybe.
No, anyways, I actually thought that you wanted to do more of like on-camera interview stuff.
I don't want to say that because that's like hedging my bets, Knock on wood there.
She's like, I'm talking these theoretical genie things, and you're like, yeah, but it's not a realistic genie.
Well, I mean, okay,
Come
so
on.
the pipe dream, I guess, is to be a part of a WCS broadcast, get to go to like a Home Story Cup, That's like that's the real goal for the next 365. Like before I have to take a knee or something, like get to go to one of those.
Do Home Story Cup interviews and have to edit it so much because everyone is pretty drunk.
Yeah, well, I already edited them all to hell, so that's fine.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, just travel, you know, be happy, live life.
It's a good goal.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
trying to be realistic, I guess.
Yeah, you are. Well, I hope it works out.
Hey, thanks.
You know, I think it is one of those. It's probably around that time where either like hopefully you're already making it, or you have to face the cruel realities of life.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
I figure if I have to face the cruel realities of life, I can go into like journalism or something, or maybe even like PR communications or whatever, with like a bunch of real world experience.
One of the things it's so easy to get depressed when you get into this field. It's like trying to get into like traditional sports, actually,
yes.
But with even less money. Is that people would be like, well, you wasted your years.
Yeah.
And to a degree, they're right when they say that. And then the other degree is like, well, you make what you learned out of it. Like, right?
100%.
Like 100%, everyone who has made it fairly far in esports has learned a lot of real life skills that it's up to them to actually try and spin, basically. So I think in your particular field, like, I mean, regardless if it's esports and the guy who's like reading your samples is like, what the shit is this? They'll still hopefully recognize like your
craftsmanship.
Your craftsmanship, exactly. Which I think they will. You know, we started off kind of with how you got into it, and it sounds like you know what you're doing and how to actually compile something and not just be like, this is shit I wrote. I hope you like it.
I hope I know what I'm doing. Jesus.
Yeah, I think you do. So thank you for taking the time to sit down with me.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, you're welcome. I am great. Thank you. You're great too, Cyan. And make sure to say all your stuff. You can follow him at
Cyan Esports on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. I have a Discord that is a little bit decaying because I haven't done a talk show in forever. But stop, don't perpetuate that meme. Don't believe the lies, okay? I'm also not 16 or whatever that fucking meme is now.
I didn't know about that meme.
I don't know. I'm a small duder, but I have a shocking amount of personal memes now, I guess. So check me out. Or don't, whatever you want. I don't know, dude. Patreon.com/CyanEsports too. There you go. How's that for an ending? Fuck me, dude.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Great end. See you later.